My brother's drunk son shouted, "She buys love because she can't earn it." The room burst into laughter. I said nothing. I just left. Days later, when they realized what I'd done, the flood of frantic texts nearly crashed my phone. You ever walk out of a room knowing you'll never walk back in the same way? That night felt different from the start, though I didn't know why at first. It was my niece Emma's graduation party, thrown together last minute at my brother's place. Plastic folding tables, cheap banners taped to the wall, and a grill that kept setting off the smoke alarm. The kind of party that looks thrown together by people who only love the idea of celebrating someone, not the person themselves. But I showed up, like I always do. I had driven an hour and a half, brought a framed quote from Maya Angelou that I had spent extra money to get custom made, and tucked 2 crisp $100 bills into a card I wrote by hand. I do that. Still write cards, still mean what I say. Maybe that's my curse. No one looked up when I walked in. My brother gave me a one-armed hug with a hot dog in his other hand. His wife didn't even pretend to smile. And the rest of them, the cousins, the grandkids, my parents in their recliners, were too wrapped up in their own little circles to notice the one woman who's funded half their problems. I've helped pay for 2 semesters of community college for a niece who flunked out before midterms, paid the down payment on Brandon's second car, sent emergency rent money to my brother 3 times in 1 year when he couldn't catch a break, bought groceries for my parents when the fridge was empty, and I never once held it over their heads. Not once. I used to think they saw me as, that night made it clear, I wasn't dependable. I was disposable, useful until I wasn't. Brandon was already drunk when I arrived, but by the time the sun went down, he was full-blown loud, stumbling, slurring, laughing like a cartoon villain at his own dumb jokes. He stood up in the middle of the room, a beer bottle swinging in his hand, and said he wanted to give a toast. I should have known better. She buys love because she can't earn it. I didn't even know he was talking about me until I saw their faces. And then, they not polite chuckles. Not nervous glances, full laughter. My brother howled like it was comedy night. My parents laughed too. My parents. Emma covered her mouth, but didn't stop. And the worst part, no one, not one person, said a thing to stop him. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. I set my plate down, walked past the half-dead potted plant near the door, picked up my purse, and left. Just like that. The cold air outside felt cleaner than the fake warmth in that house. I drove home in silence. Didn't cry. Didn't get angry. Just sat there, thinking about every time I'd said yes when I should have said nothing at all. Every dollar I gave. Every, of course, when I should have said figure it out. At home, I pulled out a drawer in the guest room filled with papers I hadn't looked at in years. Receipts, transfer confirmations, letters of thanks that had turned into expectations. I stayed up all night building a list. Everything I'd paid. Everyone I'd helped. I started highlighting names. Brandon, $2,000 in tuition, and a $700 car repair. My brother, $12,500 over 8 years. Emma, 3 birthday gifts. 1 laptop, 1 rent deposit. My parents, groceries, electric bills, prescriptions, too many to count. I totaled. I stared at the number. 46,733美元22美分. That was the price of being their afterthought. And that was the night I decided to stop. Not out of revenge. Out of respect for myself. I had given them more than money. I gave them years of silence while they used me. And now, for the first time in my life, I was about to give them exactly what they gave me. Nothing. They didn't realize it that night. But they would. And when they did, the panic came fast. It started small, subtle, like they didn't even notice it at first. The next morning, Brandon texted me. No apology, of course. Just a casual, "Hey, do you still have the number for that mechanic you used?" I didn't reply. I deleted the message. He followed up 2 hours later with, "You good?" Still nothing from me. 2 days later, a third text. "Aunt Tracy? Silence." Then my brother called. I let it ring out. He called again and again. Then, a voicemail. Hey, not sure what's going on, but Brandon didn't mean anything. You know how he is. Let's not make this a big thing, okay? I saved the message, just in case. A week passed, and the birthday invitation for my youngest niece came in the mail. One of those last-minute Facebook-style cards printed at Walgreens. I used to send a check, a gift, and sometimes helped pay for the party. This time, I tossed the invite in the trash. They still hadn't said sorry. Not one of them. Not even Emma, who had taken the envelope I gave her with a smile like she deserved it. Then came the money request. My brother texted, "Hey, kind of tight this month. Think you can help with the phone bill? Just until Friday." He attached a screenshot of the overdue notice. I texted back one word. 10 minutes later, he sent, "Wait, what?" Followed by, "Are you okay?" That's when the tone started shifting. My silence wasn't passive anymore. It was loud. A few days after that, my sister-in-law messaged me on Facebook. "Hey, just wondering why you're acting like this. It's not like you to hold a grudge. Took everything in me not to laugh. They thought I was acting different, but I was finally acting like them." Brandon posted something on Instagram. A selfie with the caption, "Real ones only," and a little snake emoji. Subtle, but I knew it was aimed at me. He still owed me $700. I'd reminded him 6 times in the past 2 years. Always got some excuse. Now he was wearing $200 sneakers and calling me a snake. That week, my dad called. That one almost got me to pick up, but I didn't. I let it go to voicemail. He didn't leave one. A few days later, I got a group text from my brother. "Can we talk? We all feel like something's wrong and it's hurting the family. We miss you." I left it on read. The panic truly kicked in when the car insurance lapsed. I know, because my niece called me crying. The same one who laughed at Brandon's little performance. She said they needed $300 by Friday, or they'd lose the car. She didn't say sorry. She just said please. I didn't reply. That night, I heard from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years, one I'd loaned money to during her divorce. "Tracy, are you okay? Everyone's saying you're going through something." I almost responded, but I didn't owe anyone an explanation. Let them sit in the silence. Let them feel the weight of the space I used to fill. And then, just when I thought it might start to cool down, my phone exploded. Missed calls, voicemails, messages. Not just from family. From friends of the family, neighbors, even my church group. Apparently, my brother had started telling people I was having some kind of breakdown, that I was isolating, that I needed help. I wasn't having a breakdown. I was waking up, and they didn't know it yet, but I was just getting started. I didn't send the list out of anger. I sent it for clarity. A mirror. Let them see themselves. I printed each one neatly. No dramatic fonts. No angry notes. Just their names, dates, and exact amounts I'd given them over the years, with totals at the bottom. I included interest. Not because I expected to get paid back. I never would. It was to show them how far from supportive family they'd drifted, how transactional it all had been. For Brandon, I included a copy of the bank transfer where I paid for his court fines, plus the check I wrote for his laptop that magically disappeared a week later. For Emma, I included the laptop receipt and the custom jewelry she once cried over, a gift she later sold online. I mailed them all out the same day. No note, no explanation, just the numbers. I didn't hear anything for 3 days. Then the storm hit. First came my brother. He called me 17 times in one day, left 5 voicemails. He was livid, said I was embarrassing the family, airing private things, and that I looked crazy. What he didn't know was that I sent a copy to my parents too. My mother left me a voicemail saying she was shocked and didn't remember asking for help that many times. My father didn't call, but I know he saw it, because the next day I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, 3 pages, rambling between guilt and denial. At the end, he asked me not to cut them off. Too late. I'd already pulled my name off my parents' utility account. They'd never bothered changing it when I started paying it. Just let me cover it like it was my responsibility. Emma tried the guilt approach. Sent me a long text about how she was just a kid and didn't know what Brandon would say. Said she didn't laugh at me, just laughed because she was nervous. Asked if I could forgive her. Then added, almost like she forgot why she was reaching out. Also, did you see my Venmo? I'm short on rent. I didn't reply. The silence became my boundary. Said everything. Then something happened I didn't expect. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in over 5 years, Monica, called me. She didn't ask for money. She just said she got the letter, and she hadn't realized how much I'd been doing for everyone. She said she was sorry. Not the fake kind. The kind you don't expect. She said she understood if I wanted distance, but she hoped I was okay. I didn't know what to say to that. Then, another surprise. A woman from the church I hadn't seen in months asked if I'd be interested in joining their mentorship program for teens in foster care. She said they needed women with patience and stability, and that she thought of me. That stuck with me for days, longer than all the voicemails and texts from my family combined. While they were scrambling to fill the void I left, I realized something. I was ready to stop giving to people who only took. I wanted to give to someone who might actually need me. Someone who wouldn't laugh at me in a room full of people who fed off my kindness. That's when I made the decision. I was going to adopt. Not because I was lonely, but because I still had love to give. And I refused to let it rot in a place where it was never appreciated. I didn't walk into the adoption center with a plan. I walked in with curiosity, and maybe for the first time in a long time, with hope. It wasn't one of those clean, Instagram-worthy places. It was cramped, buzzing with outdated fluorescent lights and the soft echo of too many voices. But it felt honest. There were no fake smiles, just real kids and tired workers doing their best. I told the coordinator, Melanie, that I wasn't interested in a baby. I wasn't looking to start from scratch. I wanted kids who were older, ones most people didn't pick first. She smiled, not in a sweet way, more like she was surprised I meant it. She introduced me to David and Layla. David was 10. Layla was 8. Siblings. Had been in and out of 3 different foster homes. Parents overdosed 2 years ago. Nobody in the family stepped up. Their case file read like a crime novel, except it wasn't fiction. They were quiet at first, sat across from me at the table, glancing at each other. I asked them if they liked puzzles. They shrugged. I said I hated puzzles. That got a tiny smile out of David. Layla asked if I liked dogs. I said I didn't know. Never had one. She said she hoped we could get one if I became their mom. I didn't expect to feel anything right away, but I did. Not some magical connection. It was subtler than that. Like the feeling of walking into a room that's messy but full of light. We met a few more times. Always at the center. Always supervised. Then, one afternoon, Melanie asked if I wanted to take them for a weekend visit. It was fast. Almost too fast. But I said yes. That weekend changed everything. Saturday morning, David asked if he could explore the garage. I let him. I heard tools clinking around for hours. Meanwhile, Layla followed me into the kitchen and started helping peel potatoes like she'd been doing it forever. Sunday morning, I found David in the living room with something in his hands. It was a photo of my husband. It wasn't out in the open. It had been in a locked drawer in my desk. How did you get that? I asked. He shrugged. Said he picked the lock with a bobby pin he found in the garage, like it was normal. I didn't know whether to be impressed or disturbed. Then he said something that stopped me cold. He looks kind. I think he would have liked us. There was no agenda, no manipulation, just a boy who lost too much, saying what he felt. That afternoon, I called Melanie and told her I wanted to start the paperwork. I wasn't naive. I knew this would be complicated. I wasn't rich. I wasn't young. But for the first time, I felt like I wasn't just filling someone else's hole. I was building something of my own. That night, while cleaning up, I found Layla's notebook on the couch. She'd been sketching, mostly stick figures. But on the last page, she'd drawn a house. 3 windows. A Darwin, the yard, and in the middle, 3 people holding hands. She labeled them. David, me, her. No one had ever drawn me and their family before. Meanwhile, I was still ignoring the avalanche of calls and messages. My brother had started texting long, dramatic messages, said our parents weren't eating, that my silence was making them sick, said I was selfish. Selfish. That same day, I got a certified letter from a lawyer. My parents had decided to update their will. I wasn't in it anymore. That would have hurt once. It didn't now. I called Melanie back and told her to move faster. The adoption was finalized on a Tuesday. A quiet ceremony. Just the 3 of us and a judge who looked like he'd seen 1,000 cases just like ours. But to me, it wasn't small. It was the first real family photo I'd ever taken, where I wasn't just visiting someone else's life. We went out for burgers after. David ordered 2. Layla asked the waitress if they had milkshakes with whipped cream like in the movies. They did. He got chocolate. I got vanilla. David said we should all try a sip of each other's, like a tradition. And just like that, I had a tradition. We got the dog too. A rescue named Milo, who barked at squirrels and followed Layla everywhere like a shadow. My house, for once, sounded alive. Then I got a call from Monica. She didn't know I'd adopted. She wasn't calling for that. She said my brother had been arrested. I thought she was exaggerating. She wasn't. Frode. Turns out, he'd been borrowing under his wife's name and opened 2 lines of credit in their son's name, Brandon's, and somehow the bank caught it. I didn't feel anything at first, just silence. A week later, my parents' house went into pre-foreclosure. They hadn't told anyone they were 3 months behind. My name wasn't on the bills anymore. The utilities had been shut off once already. Monica said they were staying in a motel, one of those places that rents rooms by the week with no real windows. She asked if I could help, just this once. I asked if they'd apologized. She didn't answer. A week after that, I got a message from Emma. She said she saw photos of me and the kids on Facebook. Said it looked like I was replacing everyone. Said it like a punch. I didn't reply, because by then something unexpected had already happened. Melanie called me again. She said 2 siblings, 6 and 4, had been removed from a dangerous situation. No relatives. No prospects. She wasn't asking. She just said, I remembered you said you had more to give. I didn't hesitate. I said, bring them. They arrived late, both asleep. I had already set up the extra bedroom, not even knowing who it would be for. The little girl, Ava, curled up into my chest the second she was carried in. Her brother, Liam, just clung to David's hand like he already trusted him. That night, the 4 of them fell asleep in the living room. I didn't tell them to move. I just turned the TV off, covered them with blankets, and sat there for a long time. Outside, it was raining. My phone lit up with another text from my brother. I deleted it without reading. Inside, Milo snored. The kids breathed slowly, peacefully. I realized for the first time that I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building. And the ones who used to ignore me were now watching their own lives fall apart without the woman they thought would never leave. It had been almost a year. David and Layla were settled in school. Ava had started singing to herself when she played, something her foster file said she never used to do. Liam stopped flinching when someone raised their voice. Milo had learned how to open the cabinet where the treats were kept, which drove me a little crazy, but I let him win most days. We had routines now. Saturday pancakes, family movie nights, a little chaos, a lot of love. Sometimes I'd stop in the middle of a noisy kitchen and realize, this is it. This is what I used to beg for, in quiet moments alone, after dinner, before bed, on cold birthdays when no one called. This time, I had it, and it was mine. Then one afternoon, the phone rang. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. It was my brother. His voice was hoarse. He said he wasn't calling to ask for anything. He said he didn't have anything left to ask with. He told me he was sorry, that he hadn't understood what I did for all of them until it was gone. Said Mom had cried when the house was taken. Said Brandon had moved out and hadn't spoken to him since. That his wife was done. He used that word like it didn't even belong to him. Then he said this: "I miss my sister." I let the words sit there for a moment. Then I said, "I haven't gone anywhere. You just never looked at me." He was quiet. Then he asked if I would ever come visit. I said no, because I wasn't walking back into a room where I'd already been humiliated. I wasn't bringing my kids, into a place that once mocked me. I told him I forgave him, but I didn't forget, and I meant it. That week, I took the kids to the park. Layla made friends with another girl who was also adopted. David tried to climb a tree and got stuck halfway. Ava and Liam chased Milo across the grass, all of them yelling at once. I just watched, smiling like a woman who knew exactly what it cost to build a life from ashes. My family didn't fall apart because I left. They fell apart because they never learned how to stand on their own. I stood up. I walked away. I built something better, stronger. I was never the one who needed them. They were the ones who never understood who I was until I disappeared. And by the time they realized what they'd lost, I had already found what I was meant to keep.